Yes, yes, yes. Here we go. Here we go. Good morning. Good morning. The Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. And brought to you by the delicious charbroiled oysters at Drago's Seafood Restaurant and Oyster Bar. Right there in the Hilton Jackson parking lot, County Line Road, right across from Edwin Watts Golf Shop. That's three fantastic partners on the show. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're on YouTube Live right now, brought to you by the Charbroiled Oysters at Drago's. YouTube Live, search Out of Bounds Sports. You can check out the super cool studio and everything that we have going on in here. We want to welcome in Jordy Culotta, ESPN Baton Rouge on the Coors Light guest line. Jordy, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Good to be back. How are you?
Man, it's a Whiskey Wednesday on the Out of Bounds Show. What do you think about that?
Hell yeah, man. Couldn't be a better day of the week to be here.
So you guys have kind of shaken up the lineup down there, and exciting news, y'all are adding an hour on the show.
We are, man. We've had an opportunity from a local aspect to get more inventory, and our vice president Jordy Rush, who has done a tremendous job of keeping us relevant with his decisions, and has made another one, and extending Hester's show an hour and extending our show an hour, and getting some evening programming, working from 6 to 8. So it's pretty cool right now to be a part of our operation, as Gordy has kind of put us in a really good chance and a really good place to succeed. And Off the Bench has been one of the shows that has bared the fruits of that.
That's great, man. Congratulations, Jordy Culotta, ESPN Baton Rouge, on the Out of Bounds Show. You know, we had Hester on. He seems like a good dude. Have you gotten to know him over the years?
Oh, absolutely. You know, and in covering him a little bit when he was a player while he was here, playing, and then he went off to the NFL for 5 years and played for San Diego and Denver, and then, right when he got back, I mean, he jumped into the media game in his hometown of Shreveport, North Louisiana. And, he's one of the most recognizable names and figures in LSU football history. I mean, he's got some of these moments that when you think about, highlights of LSU football, Jacob Hester's, he's not too far down the list as far as some of the highlights. You're thinking of that epic Florida game in 2007 with that national championship run on those fourth down pickups, and him in the open field running over Major Wright in Tiger Stadium. And, he scored a touchdown in the national championship game. He was a guy who wore number 18 in the program, which means a lot. And then, just kind of jumping in with us. I mean, he's down to earth. He's as solid as a guy. He's got 4 kids. He married his college sweetheart. In fact, he was married in college. He got proposed. He got engaged in his junior season at Arkansas at War Memorial Stadium to his wife. And he did, man. He did. After that was an epic game with Derek McFadden and Felix Jones, and Trendon Holiday brought a kickoff return back, and Jamarcus Russell had a big game that day. And after that game, he dropped down on one knee with his teammates around him and asked his future wife, who is a great mom and great lady, Katie Hester, to marry him that day. And I want to say that they got married like a week after the national championship game a year later. So
nice.
Just cool people, good, down to earth, great people who love sports and love the South. And, we got so much in common, and, it's great to go to a game with him, be on campus kind of walking through. And
dude's a rock star.
He's a rock star. I mean, because now you're a coworker, and a lot of the discussions that we have is about creative stuff and stuff coming up on the show, or ideas that we may be kicking back and forth. And you kind of settle into that mode, and you're walking through, tailgating scenes with him, and people are just freaking out to get pictures and stopping by and eat a drink, making him a drink and making him a dish. And you forget truly how famous he is.
Dude, that guy could run for governor. I mean, good grief.
He absolutely could. Yeah, I mean, he's got a couple of, he's got some ownership stake in Walk-Ons, which is, a Louisiana fixture and on campus. So, I mean, he's as LSU as you can get. You know, I mean, he wore number 18. He's a pride. He loves the university. He loves the program, and you know, now he's yapping about it from noon to 3 on ESPN Baton Rouge every day.
What a cool story. Jordy Culotta, Morning Drive, ESPN Baton Rouge, joining us on the Coors Light guest line. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're on YouTube Live. Search Out of Bounds Sports. You know, it was funny, Jordy, when we had him on the show, he told this story. He said, yeah, I was from North Louisiana, and I was the lowest ranked player in my class. And when I joined the freshman, whatever it was, that August or sometime, I guess, in the summer, the big joke was that I was the one, and I guess it was, you know, another top 5 class for LSU. And he said the big joke with my guys my age was that I brought down the star ranking for that class.
Look, man, he was originally committed to Texas. In fact, we still bust his chops a little bit. He had when he committed, he got a Longhorn tattoo when he was in high school on a trip right after he committed to Texas, and then Saban got the job, or Saban got on him and started recruiting him really hard. In the middle of his recruitment, he ended up coming to LSU, and he turned into a rock star and a superstar. So we still mess with him. But yeah, man, I mean, like when you look at his recruiting class, you know, I think Rivals had him at a 3-star, but he always, like, you know, it's like the Michael Jordan story. He loves to tell it now. I think somebody had him as a 2-star, so he loves to tell everybody that he was a 2-star. But I think, you know, some people had him as a 3 and a 4-star. But once he got here, he was definitely, when you looked at the class, he was the guy that you thought he may not fit in. And then, you know, 4 years later, he's the captain, and he's almost the face of the program at that point, with guys like Glenn Dorsey and Matt Flynn and Keelan Williams, and you know they had play Ali Highsmith, and you know, just players on for days on that national championship team in '07. But you know, none more recognizable and none more famous than 18 than Jacob Hester.
What a great story, Jacob Hester, now at ESPN Baton Rouge, but had a hell of a career with for the LSU Tigers. We're joined by Jordy Culotta on the Coors Light guest line, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Let's all right. Let's pivot here. I want to talk about. I may have seen it on your Twitter or something, but what in the world is your head coach Ed Orgeron doing running around in the rain?
I mean, this guy. We had him on yesterday morning, and he was telling the story. He thought that he was going to time the rain, the storm, the showers. It's been storming down here in South Louisiana. In fact, the gray clouds are moving over the city again right now, and it looks like it's going to unleash again today. I mean, it has been wet all week. And yesterday, O was sitting in his office and thought that he was going to time the break in these storms, where he said he likes to get out there and run where, you know, you guys can relate. I mean, down in the southern part of our world, that you know, I mean, after these rainstorms in the middle of the summer in the southern part of America, I mean, it's humid, it's hot, you can see the steam coming off of the asphalt, you know, when the sun peeks out after one of these storms. And O says that he loves to run at that time because it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like the worst part of the day, and he likes to show his toughness, and he just mistimed it. I mean, like he took off out of his office, and he kind of got to the halfway point of 11. He kind of started thinking, man, I don't know if this is gonna work out, and then just kind of the skies unleashed. And I mean, it's almost become like a rite of passage for people now to you have to take a picture of him and put it on social media when you see him jogging, because he just he does it every day. I mean, he does these 2-hour jogs on Sundays around Tiger Stadium, where he just he releases his mind. He talks about running around campus and just kind of getting to know parts of campus that he may never have been to, and just he goes down to Destin a couple of weeks back, and he's running through camp. He's running through the areas there, and everybody's snapping pictures of him. It is incredible to see the fame that has taken off behind him, and I mean, a simple jog like that, it stirs up so much commotion on social media just when he moves. I mean, it really does. I mean, he's got this persona to him now where, his fame is on another level.
And because he's a man of the people,
yeah,
and a
he's
regular
himself.
Joe, and hasn't forgotten where he's from, because Detillier talks about this all the time. Because of that, there's even more of a gravitational pull to him from LSU people, right?
Well, that is Louisiana. I mean, that's what makes this state what it is. I mean, we're last at everything you want to be first in, and we're first in everything you want to be last in. We're very poorly managed. We're very poorly run, but we are very down to our roots. We are prideful in our communities. We're prideful in our area. We love our state, our culture, our passion, our food, our music, all of that. And Orgeron, he embodies that. And he's so prideful about those same things. And he's more prideful about the state in some areas than we are. I mean, he brings to light some things that you may not think about. So he's got the state so securely behind him just by being Ed Orgeron. He's not going out of his way to do anything that feels fake, feels disingenuous, feels like he's trying too hard. He just feels like he wakes up and he is himself and he shoots you straight. He comes on with us every Tuesday. For the last 4 minutes of the interview, we open it up to questions, to listener questions. And we have asked him off the air, is there anything that you want us to stay away from that you may be uncomfortable with? And he is, immediately, no indeed. If they want to know it, I can ask it. If I can't answer it, I'll say it. But and he's never done that. He's never been presented a question where he's saying no comment or I don't want to comment. He will shoot you straight and be transparent about just about everything that's going on in that program. You know, at that level, there's some things that stay in-house, but for the most part, everybody in the public that supports his program feels like they have a front row seat, that they know exactly how it's run, how it operates, what goes on, and it's because he's very authentic. He's just kind of himself, and people can relate so much to that down here. It's very relatable when he runs out of that chute on Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, and to see the pride he has in that. Everybody in the stadium feels like that, and he wears that with him. He told a great story yesterday morning, Bo, about going to high school at South Lafourche and getting there on Monday mornings, and all the students, the majority of the students, talking about, the highlights of their weekend being in Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge and watching LSU play. And he went home to his dad and said, "Dad, why can't we go to Tiger Stadium?" And he said, "Boy, we can't afford those trips on Saturday nights." He said, "But I'll tell you this, you work hard enough and you'll never have to buy a ticket to get into that place." And the way he told that story, the way that he could go back and take you to that place, you should have seen the reaction on the show. People were sitting there saying, "I'm listening to this with goosebumps. I'm listening to this down in South Lafourche and understand what it means." He's a very powerful figure right now for a lot of people in our state.
It's Jordy Culotta, ESPN Baton Rouge, on the Coors Light guest line, talking Orgeron. It's one of the most remarkable success stories in the history of coaching, Jordy.
Easy.
Easy.
Dude, easily.
I had to cover him when he was at Ole Miss. It was brutal.
No.
They didn't even get first downs. It was just, and then the bouncing around Tennessee, Southern Cal, the Saints, and the stars line up, and then he gets boat raced by Mississippi State and beat by Troy, and gets enough time, and then it's just, you could write a book with.
Oh, the book it's being written. Bruce Feldman's penning it right now.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yes, it's going to be a great book.
Yes, it will.
It's Man, it's got a great title, and Bruce announced it a couple of weeks back. I will text it to either you or Blake over the next as soon as we get off of here to give you the title, because it's great. I mean, the title kind of wraps up where he's been and where he is. But it goes through all that. And look, man, Feldman had a front row seat to his days at Ole Miss.
Meat
He
Market.
wrote the book Meat Market. Yeah, absolutely. And look, this is going to be a follow up to that. So, he's been there from the start, and Orgeron has kept him close through the days at Tennessee, USC, a couple of trips to Southern California. He was the defensive line coach for Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints for a season in 2008, the first year out of Ole Miss. So, I mean, look, the long road traveled to get to the head coaching office at LSU has been well documented and been very heavily criticized when giving the opportunity. But like you said, it is a success story that you're right. It's very unrivaled. And if you look around, people are kind of looking at the process and starting to copy it. If you look at what Alabama's doing with their weight program, those guys that they hired to copy to replace Scott Cochran, they have pretty much copy and pasted LSU's off-season training as far as what they are now paying attention to. Tommy Moffitt has changed the protocol on what they are now. They measure with these GPS that they wear what they call effort in and out of play. So they're able to. I mean, they're tracking everything down to the breath that these guys are taking, and LSU has been on the forefront of that. And I was reading something where Alabama has pretty much taken that and tried to replicate it in their off-season training and tried to follow what LSU is doing. And LSU has been chasing for so long and trying to keep up with what was going on in Tuscaloosa just to stay relevant. It gave me an idea of how hard Orgeron has worked and how fast he's been able to implement his program to see that Nick Saban's already starting to see what they're doing in Baton Rouge and trying to do what they're doing, because it was for so long that LSU was trying to copy and paste what Saban was doing.
Wow. Jordy Culotta, ESPN Baton Rouge. Blake, do you have a question?
Well, yeah, Jordy, I was just going to say what you kind of defined is something that we've talked about all week, which is kind of the evolution of coaches and play callers and things like that. I think the big question, everybody's seen the one-year transformation, and that's all well and good, but there were so many different nuances to what allowed that to happen. I know you're high on Miles Brennan and the offense, but trying to pull back a little bit more objectively, what realistically can fans expect from Orgeron and the offense this year? Has he really made that true transformation, or was that kind of a perfect storm last season?
Well, last year was a perfect storm, and it will never be able to be replicated. You'll never be able to do that, because you'll never get Joe Burrow again. He was a fifth-year guy. He was so passionate and invested into the game. He was a coach's son. He had waited his opportunity. He was still pissed off by the way he was treated at Ohio State. I mean, nobody's going to come in here and throw for 60 touchdowns. It's just not. It's not going to happen. So for Miles Brennan to come in here and produce half of that would be a successful run. And his talent, Blake, can allow him to do that. His arm strength is better than Joe's. I mean, and I arm strength doesn't mean much when you look at a quarterback, but he can make all of the throws. What I am concerned about offensively for LSU is their offensive line, and can they protect? And if they do that, they experienced so much success offensively last year that is now their identity. That is who LSU is. They will not be able to produce at that efficiency, but they will run the spread attack. They're going to go five wide. They're going to get the ball out of the hand of the quarterback to the playmakers that they recruit, and they're selling at those guys. I mean, that's why they're having so much success on the trail right now, is because that's what they're selling, that they're going to continue to allow guys to come in and become Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, and Terrace Marshall and Thaddeus Moss, and all these guys that are getting drafted and having the opportunity to play at the next level. So if they can protect him, I mean, remember, they're replacing a left tackle. They're replacing a center. They're replacing a right guard. And from a protection standpoint, they're replacing their running back Clyde, who was fantastic in pass protection. So, that is my biggest concern. I think if they can protect, they will be efficient because they've got the weapons. I mean, when you think about Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall, Trey Palmer, who's a third wide receiver, Arik Gilbert, who's the number one tight end in the country, who people are raving about on campus right now, John Emery, who was the number one running back in the country in last year's recruiting cycle, seems like he's grown up and his time is now prepared to get onto the field. They got weapons everywhere. I mean, they got cats that can change the scoreboard in one play. Can they protect? As long as they can protect on the offensive line, well, I think that they will run that style of offense that they ran last season. Will it produce at the efficiency that it did? It won't. I don't think it ever will, but that's who LSU is now. That's the type of athletes that they recruit, and that's what that's what they're selling on the trail.
How about that? Jordy Culotta, ESPN Baton Rouge on the Out of Bounds show. That was fun, man. Congratulations on the new extra hour and everything that's going on down there. And, man, when all this crazy stuff settles down, I'm gonna I used to be in Baton Rouge all the time. I'm going to have to take a road trip, come down there and go to one of y'all's favorite local restaurants and get some cold beer and some good food.
I'm taking you to City Cafe for a dozen raw oysters and some good seafood and cold beer, buddy.
I'm there. Have a great week, my man. Thanks.
See y'all.
Jordy Culotta, ESPN Baton Rouge.
It ain't bragging if you can back it up.
Right. Blake, that was fun.
Yeah. Jordy's good, man.
He talked about, how they out on the station, they all liked each other. We don't even like anybody on our station.
God, I hate everyone that works. I'm just kidding. That's not true.
I'm kidding, too.
I love Jake.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Let's talk about two brothers real quick. Blake, we've got the Grip It, Rip It, and Sip It golf tournament, charity golf tournament for Folds of Honor at Mossy Oak Golf Club in West Point on Saturday. John Daly in the house, big-time name celebrity golfer. And they're going to draw, if you enter, at a certain level on the website, which is twobrotherscharitygolf.com, twobrotherscharitygolf.com. If you enter at a certain level, you could be picked tomorrow at lunch to play with Daly, front nine or back nine. 4 will play on the front nine, 4 will play on the back nine. So it gives you some, instead of just going with 4, I think that's the way
people,
to do it.
Yeah. And you got 24 hours to sign up, basically.
24 hours.
Now until end of our show tomorrow, because by lunch they're picking people.
Bam.
So there you go.
The Thirsty Gringo will pick tomorrow at lunch. And then the VIP party at Two Brothers, proceeds going to Folds of Honor. So check that out, twobrotherscharitygolf.com. The show is also brought to you by the 3 dozen charbroiled oysters at Drago's Seafood Restaurant and Oyster Bar. Also presented by Superior Foundation. For all your foundation repairs, call Todd Sandridge and Trey Pace at Superior Foundation for all your foundation repairs. And we will see you tomorrow.